Welcome to Pages and Pods. In today's episode, I'll introduce the historical background to a book called the Tanya, which is a Hasidic interpretation of an earlier mystical work called the Zohar, also known as the Book of Splendor, which is the foundational text for Kabbalah. Finally, I will introduce a book titled The Practical Tanya, written by Rabbi Chaim Miller, which I will use in future presentations. Tanya is an Aramaic word meaning it was taught. The Tanya was written in 1797 by Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of Chabad Lubavitch. The Tanya presents a deep, structured path through Jewish mystical thought, drawing heavily from the teachings of the Zohar. But to understand the Tanya, we need to take a step back, centuries back, and follow the chain of tradition that led to its creation. The Zohar, again translated as the Book of Splendor, is attributed to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, who lived in the 2nd century CE, around 100 to 160. Because Shimon bar Yochai spoke out against the Roman occupation of Israel, he was sentenced to death. He and his son avoided Roman authorities by hiding in a cave outside Pekin for 13 years until the governor of the Judean province died and his sentence was forgotten. During that time, it is believed that he composed the majority of the Zohar. He was a direct student of Rabbi Akiva, who lived from approximately 50 to 135 CE. Rabbi Akiva became one of the greatest sages of his time and a key transmitter of oral Torah. He was ultimately martyred by the Roman Empire for continuing to teach Torah in defiance of Roman edicts. Rabbi Akiva studied under Rabbi Nachman ish Gamzu and Yoshua ben Hananiah. I know I've presented a lot of long names for you, but there's a reason for this, and that is to show the continuity of teaching, that these traditions were passed down from rabbi, which means teacher, to student, who ultimately became a rabbi and had students of their own. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is a crucial figure in Jewish history. He was active during the Roman siege of Jerusalem, and around 70 CE he negotiated with Vespasian, at that time a general, to be allowed to leave the city. He then established the Sanhedrin, which is the main body of teachers of the Jewish tradition of the time, in a city called Yavne, ensuring that the oral tradition would not be lost after the temple's destruction. Without Yochanan ben Zakkai's bold maneuver with General Vespasian, who would soon be called back to Rome to become the emperor, the Jewish traditions practiced in Jerusalem would have been lost forever, and the oral teachings leading to Shimon bar Yochai's inspiration to codify the Zohar may have never taken place. In short, we see a powerful historical chain. Yochanan ben Zakkai preserves Jewish learning after 70 CE. Rabbi Akiva, influenced by the students of Yochanan ben Zakkai, preserves the tradition, becoming a spiritual giant and martyr. Shimon bar Yochai, Akiva's student, is remembered as the source of the Zohar, and centuries later, in 13th century Spain, Rabbi Moses de Leon published the Zohar, claiming it to be a transcription of Rabbi Shimon's ancient wisdom. Then, over 500 years later, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi wrote the Tanya, a mystical interpretation of the Zohar. So why all this history before diving into the practical Tanya? Because to understand Rabbi Chaim Miller's work, you have to understand what Kabbalah is and what it is not. Kabbalah is not magic or superstition, as it's sometimes portrayed to be in pop culture. It's a spiritual discipline, a conceptual map of how divine energy flows from infinite unity into finite creation. It teaches us about the structure of the soul, the universe, and the Creator's relationship with both. Traditionally, the Zohar was considered so potent that it was discouraged for anyone under 40 to study it. Like many mystical traditions, It was reserved for those who had already been shaped by ethical and spiritual practice. But today, anyone with an internet connection can access it. That freedom brings both opportunity and risk. Rabbi Chaim Miller's The Practical Tanya is an excellent guide for entering this world responsibly. He walks the reader through the structure of the Tanya with clarity, explaining key terms and ideas, and providing relevant excerpts from both the Tanya and the Zohar. His approach helps modern seekers gain grounded insight into one of the most profound spiritual texts in Jewish history. Next time, we'll begin our journey into the Practical Tanya itself, starting with its first foundational question. What is God's relationship with reality? Thanks for joining me on Pages and Pods. Until next time, keep seeking. And remember, if you like this podcast, click the like button and even more importantly, subscribe. So I feel inspired to keep doing these podcasts.